Summer Game Fest 2026 just happened, and honestly, this might be the best one in years. We're not talking about, oh neat, a new skin pack kind of announcements. We're talking full-on sequels people gave up hoping for, remakes of games that desperately needed one, and at least 2 reveals that made the internet collectively lose its mind. So let's break it down. Kicking things off, and honestly, what an opener, Capcom revealed the Resident Evil Code Veronica remake. Now, if you've followed the Resident Evil franchise at all, you know this one has been rumored for what feels like forever. Code Veronica originally released back in 2000, and while it wasn't a bad game, it always felt like the one in the series that aged the roughest. Clunky controls, some questionable design choices. It was a product of its time. But here's the thing, that actually makes it perfect remake material. The trailer opens with a first-person prologue sequence, very reminiscent of the RE3 remake's intro, which is already signaling that Capcom isn't just polishing the original, they're rebuilding it. And Claire Redfield is back, looking just as she did in the RE2 remake, which is a nice bit of continuity. Look, Capcom has been on an absolute tear lately. RE2, RE4, both excellent. RE3 was decent, but felt a little thin. If this is closer in ambition to RE2 or RE4, we could be looking at one of the best remakes in years. High hopes, cautious optimism. Let's move on. Next up, and this one genuinely surprised people, Alien Isolation 2 finally got its first real footage. The original Alien Isolation, released in 2014, is widely considered one of the best horror games ever made, and Creative Assembly has been radio silent on a sequel for so long that most people assumed it just wasn't happening. It's happening. The setting has shifted from the claustrophobic corridors of Sevastopol Station to a colony world, more open environments, more varied threats, and there's a fun detail. A large portion of the trailer is in Japanese dialogue, which throws you off for a second, until you recognize the voice belongs to Amanda Ripley, the protagonist from the first game. She's back. The Xenomorph's back, and while the setting is more open this time, the developers seem committed to keeping the stealth survival tone intact, rather than turning this into an action shooter. Though, the trailer does feature a flamethrower fairly prominently, so maybe Amanda's a little better equipped than last time. No release date yet, but this one's on the watch list. Alright, number 8 is CROSSFIRE, and this one is a bit of a wild card. On the surface, the trailer looks like a slick, cinematic military shooter, co-op, high budget, the kind of thing you'd expect from a big AAA publisher. But here's the twist. It's actually a single-player action game built around strategic movement and positioning rather than all-out gunplay. The studio behind it is called That's No Moon, and they've pulled in veterans from both Naughty Dog and Infinity Ward. That pedigree shows. The cutscenes look genuinely next-gen, the environments are detailed, and the character work is impressive. What elevates this beyond a standard military game is what slowly reveals itself mid-trailer, some kind of mysterious substance that's possessing people and turning them against each other. It shifts the tone from a straightforward war game into something stranger and more interesting. One feature they highlighted was adaptive cover. Essentially, your character moves around cover dynamically rather than snapping to it. It's a good idea, and yes, a similar mechanic showed up in 007 First Light just recently, but honestly, the more games do this well, the better. No release date yet, but this one's worth keeping an eye on. Alright, this one came out of nowhere. Guild Wars 3. Guild Wars 2 launched in 2012, that's over a decade ago, and ArenaNet has been quietly maintaining it ever since, which made a full sequel feel increasingly unlikely. And yet, here we are. The trailer doesn't show a lot of gameplay, but the announcement alone carries weight. The original Guild Wars games built their reputation on being genuinely refreshing in a genre full of subscription fees and grinding. No monthly payments, satisfying movement, fun combat, and a structure that didn't punish you for logging off. If they keep that spirit alive, and it does appear to be the same studio, ArenaNet, at the helm, this could be a legitimate alternative to the gacha-fueled open-world games that have dominated the market recently. Beta is scheduled for fall 2027. That's a ways off, but it's something to look forward to for fans of the genre, and even for people who are usually MMO skeptical. Number 6, and honestly, this might be the most visually striking thing shown at the entire event, Stellar Blade BloodRayne. ShiftUp's original Stellar Blade came out in 2024 and surprised a lot of people by being a genuinely solid action game beneath the admittedly eye-catching aesthetics. So a sequel was expected. What wasn't expected was this. The setting has completely shifted. Gone is the post-apocalyptic Earth, replaced by a sprawling, neon-drenched futuristic city that looks almost impossibly detailed for real-time rendering. And apparently it is all rendered in-engine, which is impressive. The new protagonist moves differently too. Where the original leaned into sleek, blade-focused combat, BloodRayne introduces boxing-style mechanics. Faster, more grounded, more brutal. The vibe is Ghost in the Shell meets biomechanical body horror, and it gives the game a much more distinct identity than the original, which borrowed fairly heavily from Nier Automata. This one looks like a genuine step up in every department. Combat, visuals, world design. If you slept on the first game, BloodRayne might be the entry point worth waiting for. Okay, fighting game fans, this one is for you. Virtua Fighter CROSSROADS, which is effectively Virtua Fighter 6. Virtua Fighter is one of the most technically respected fighting game franchises in history, and one of the most criminally underserved. Sega has let it sit dormant for years, while every other major fighting franchise got sequels, big marketing budgets, and esports scenes. That changes with CROSSROADS. Not only does it look incredible, realistic character models, fluid and intense combat, but it's reportedly getting a full story campaign mode, developed in collaboration with RGG Studio, the team behind the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series. If that DNA comes through, this could be the best fighting game story mode we've ever seen. Virtua Fighter has always punched above its weight in terms of actual gameplay quality. Giving it a proper budget and a narrative mode, this could be a breakout moment for the franchise, releasing sometime in 2027. Number 4 is Gen Atlas, formerly known as Project Robot, the long-awaited new game from Fumito Ueda, the creator of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. If you know Ueda's work, you know what to expect. Emotionally rich, minimalist storytelling, grand scale, and a profound sense of loneliness and wonder. Gen Atlas appears to flip the Shadow of the Colossus formula. Instead of a small human taking down colossal beings, you're a small robot working alongside a colossal one. There's also, surprisingly, a gun, which is very much not Ueda's usual style. Whether combat is a major focus or just a small element remains to be seen. The trailer was rough in places, some slowdown, some hitching, which suggests the game is still a ways off, but given this team's track record, rough edges in a trailer don't worry me. These are people who make games that stay with you for years. Gen Atlas is one to watch very closely. Alright, number 3 is 1666 Amsterdam, and I need you to stay with me here because this one is weird. This is the new game from Patrice Désilets, the creator of the original Assassin's Creed, and if you've been following his career, you'll know that he's never really been interested in making anything conventional. 1666 Amsterdam is proof of that. The setting is 17th century Amsterdam, but you play as a cat who uses witch magic to glide across water, fight mutant bosses, and navigate a dark, historically rooted world that clearly has some very unusual things lurking beneath the surface. The first teaser didn't make much of an impression, but the gameplay they showed at SGF 2026 had a genuine spark to it, something inventive and strange that you don't often see from games at this scale. It could be an absolute disaster, or it could be one of those rare games that pulls off something totally singular. Either way, I'm genuinely curious, and in a sea of sequels and remakes, that alone makes it stand out. Okay, we're in the top 2 now. Final Fantasy VII Revelation, the third and final chapter of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, was officially revealed at Summer Game Fest 2026, and it looks extraordinary. The airship is in the game, fully controllable. You can fly around the world map and then leap off the edge and glide down to the surface below, a mechanic that draws obvious comparisons to Breath of the Wild. It's a clever solution. The sky layer essentially serves as the world map, and dropping down brings you into the more detailed ground-level environments. Elegant design. Vincent and Sid are finally joining the party, completing the roster fans have been waiting for. The weapons, the iconic, massive, lore-significant weapons from the original, are shown in full, which is deeply satisfying. And then there's Aerith. The game is being deliberately coy about her fate after the ambiguous ending of Rebirth, and this trailer doesn't resolve that, but the story seems to suggest things may diverge further from the original, which is either exciting or terrifying depending on where you stand. The game launches in spring 2027 on all platforms, no timed exclusivity this time. This trilogy is wrapping up, and if this entry delivers on the promise of what we've seen, it could be the best of the three. And the #1 reveal of Summer Game Fest 2026? Wolf Among Us 2. Look, this one doesn't need a lot of hype from me. If you know, you know. The Wolf Among Us was one of Telltale's absolute best. Released in 2013 and 2014, it took the Fables comic universe, fairy tale characters living secretly in 1980s New York, and turned it into a gripping neo-noir crime story with some of the best character writing in games at that time. A sequel was announced back in 2017, then Telltale collapsed in 2018. The game was presumed dead, and for years, most fans quietly made peace with never getting it. It's real. It's coming next year, and alongside the announcement, they revealed a remaster of the original game, a smart move given that it's been over a decade since new players had an easy way to access it. What the trailer shows looks like a genuine evolution of the Telltale formula, not just a retread of what worked before. And honestly, even if it were just more of the same, it would still be the most welcome surprise of the entire show. Some games you give up on, and then they come back, and it reminds you why you loved games in the first place. Wolf Among Us 2. #1, no debate. So that's Summer Game Fest 2026, an unusually stacked show, and honestly, 2027 is shaping up to be one of the most loaded years in gaming in a long time. Which reveal hit hardest for you? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know if Wolf Among Us 2 broke anyone else a little bit. If you found this useful, a like helps a lot. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this.